Spring has sprung in the great state of Iowa, and if you've been thinking about getting outdoors with your family during the best time of year, we want to help you here at Plaza RV. We are a locally owned RV dealer in Bondurant who cares about our customers before, during, and most importantly, after your purchase. Give us a chance. We will treat you like family. Buy local. Buy from Plaza RV.
Mom, Dad's being weird again.
Luscious.
Honey,
So full.
it's just grass.
Oh, it's so much more than just grass. It's a healthier, greener, and more luscious lawn. Yours can be too.
Look at you.
With Kabursky Brothers Lawn Care.
Remember, no shoes on the lawn. Because you're so beautiful.
Call or click today.
Join us for the Murph and Andy Patio Tour every Friday, continuing this week at Wellman's Pub and Rooftop in West Des Moines. A great place to watch the game, grab lunch, or have a night out. Wellman's has it all. The party starts at 1 this Friday at Wellman's Pub and Rooftop in West Des Moines with Murph and Andy and Iowa Everywhere.
Murph and Andy, proudly presented by Ramsey Subaru, live and on demand across Iowa everywhere. From the Channel Seed Studios, this is Murph and Andy. Murph and Andy, connected by cellular advantage.
Hey, it's Murph and Andy on a Wednesday. Glad to have you with us. And Andy, we just heard the Buffalo Bills are going to be the Hard Knocks team coming up. That's usually not the case. It's usually a bad team or a team that was forced to have hard knocks. Kind of surprised. This is intriguing.
Sure. Yeah. I don't really care, but
God dang it, Andy. You don't care?
no.
You don't watch Hard Knocks?
About Hard Knocks, I haven't watched that really in
God dang
years. I haven't. It was something that I was interested in for a few years, but
All right.
no,
all
I
right.
dropped off.
All
I
right,
don't
change
care.
the subject. Change the subject. Tush
I like
Push. Do you
HBO,
care about
though.
that?
Tush Push, I am interested in that. Yeah, sure.
Okay, the NFL Rules Committee recommended they get rid of the tush push. The Safety Committee recommended they get rid of the tush push. And today the owners voted, and by the narrowest of margin, the tush push stays. More tush push ahead.
Yeah, there are just a bunch of teams that found a lot of success with this, I imagine. I think I don't like it. I don't know that I've ever heard anybody give me a good argument for why they should keep it or why it's, a good part of the game. It just seems like it goes against the spirit, but
It's an ugly play.
yeah, it's not exciting.
No.
It seems like it almost always works. So,
It does for the Eagles.
it's kind of a little like the extra point where it used to be placed, where it was so automatic that it really wasn't, people didn't pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
The tush push is a touchdown. So, that's still a much bigger deal, but it just seems, it doesn't, it just doesn't seem like something that requires football skill. It's just pushing, blocking and moving forward like a rugby scrum.
Yeah, it is what it's like, yes. Although the Eagles do it for first downs and touchdowns, I guess is what happens. Guesthouse Tavern and Oyster in West Des Moines sets the table for today's Murph and Andy. Coming up, the fall of Favre, Clark Head Scratcher, and your movie spoilers with Mr. Movie. Guesthouse Tavern, Northwoods inspired Midwestern hospitality. Right now, high or low since the last show.
Presented by Wealth Charter Retirement Planning and Tax.
You'll find those guys at wealthcharterretirement.com. They'll find all the answers that you need for your retirement future, your planning. I'm going to go high here with a question mark because I'm not sure. So Monday was Lewis's birthday. He turned 1. It's been an adventurous year, an adventure-filled year. we should say.
That's
with
Lewis on the right.
That's
with
Lewis
the
on
hat.
the right. Mhm,
Yeah.
That's Lewis. Yeah, and he's a yellow lab. He's a little short and stout.
He looks so innocent there.
Yeah, he is. He's a really sweet boy, but he's a holy terror. I mean, he gets into everything, chews everything. He thinks everybody just is in strong favor of everything he does.
Does he get to eat that birthday cake?
I'm told no. That this was actually for the kids. It had chocolate in it. The dogs can't have the chocolate, so he did have. He had a Kong filled with frozen Greek yogurt and peas. Those are his favorites.
Okay. You, Lewis.
Yeah. But let me tell you what's going on here. This first picture, he looks really excited. He's having his birthday, and he really looks happy. But then yesterday, he got neutered.
Oh, man.
And this is him this morning. The mood is fun. That has to be the worst birthday present I think anybody's ever received. A neutering.
Yeah, you didn't get a vasectomy on your birthday.
No. And the vasectomy was not, I mean, he had the whole set removed, gone. Empty
So
sack
it's just,
now.
yeah.
Just an empty sack.
So you feel like he knows? He knows something changed?
He certainly looks like it in this picture, right? I mean, can't you read his face here?
Yeah.
Normally,
so sad.
every other male dog I've ever had and female dog I've had spayed or neutered, within a couple of months of when I got them, very much earlier. But the breeders strongly encouraged that I wait, at least a year to have him neutered because it's, apparently, or some people believe that it's good for their joints and the development of their joints and all that. I think the science is divided over that, but I was like, okay, I'm a responsible dog owner. I can keep tabs on him. An unaltered male has more energy, more drive. They're just more intense.
And I know it.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have more responsibility this way. They tend to get in more fights and they tend to, hump stuff and, all this stuff. He really didn't do any of that. It really was just fine. But I mean, you got to keep tabs on them all the time when they walking around, fully loaded like that. And I thought, okay, I'll go the full year. And we did. So he went in, it's not like getting puppy balls cleared out. I mean, he had a full set, a fully developed, big set of balls, and they're gone now. So, I mean, he's a little bit lighter. He's got more. They weren't even dragging or anything. No,
this is a young dog.
Yeah. More space between his legs. There'll be less chafing this way, I imagine. But yeah,
but right now he feels a little betrayed.
I would imagine, although he was really excited to go see the veterinarian over at the Beaverdale Vet Clinic, and the Reardons are so great.
You won't be next time.
Yeah.
He was enjoy that while you can. That's over.
He was in a good mood when Kahala picked him up yesterday, but he's on some drugs now and he's very chill. He's acting stoned.
Oh man.
Poor guy.
Prayers up, Lewis.
Yeah.
I'm going
it's for his
high.
own good.
My high is so Brock Purdy's former Cyclone star. He signs the $265 million contract with the 49ers. And look at him there. It almost looks like he's at a 49ers, fan experience where you get to go sit at the table and pretend you're signing a contract. I mean, he just looks so happy and the huge smile on his face. He looks so young. And then also, my real high, though, is Carrie Purdy put out this photo of Sean, Carrie Purdy, Brock in the middle with the cake. They're celebrating a $265 million contract with a cake. This looks like it could be from a
Costco.
Graduation party.
Like a Costco cake, yeah.
And it's sincere. I mean, I know Sean and Carrie enough to know they are among the nicest people I've ever come across. And they're just all so happy, but they're not celebrating with a $100,000 showy car or some mansion that they just bought. They have a sheet cake, and they look genuinely happy. And Brock doesn't look much different than when he signed with Iowa State 7 years ago.
No, he's got a baby face.
Man.
No doubt. You think most people look at this picture, Murph, and think, wow, look at that cake?
Nope.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah. Let's get the buzz on a Wednesday.
The Buzz. Brought to you by Logier Heating and Cooling.
Proudly serving the Des Moines metro community for 119 years. Programming note, two guys, Chris and Chris, will be live tonight at 6. Fine. You can watch tonight at 6. That's fine. It's good. I hope people do watch. Why? Do we know why? What are they doing?
Somebody must be traveling, right? It could be either one of them. Could be both of them.
Not necessarily. Williams could have like some dirt track race he has to get to.
Isn't that traveling?
Yeah, that's a good point.
There's no dirt track in Bondurant.
Well, not yet. He's working on it. All right, the buzz. I watched last night, Andy. I know you did too. The Netflix documentary Untold, Fall of Favre. AD, did you get to this yet?
I haven't yet. No, I'm saving this for a special night where I could.
I thought you would have like a watch party.
Yeah,
or maybe you need a weekend.
I figured you would watch this the moment it dropped.
I'm more excited to watch. I really want to be able to sit down and soak this all in. I've hated this guy my whole life in the face of literally everybody else loving him. And now that I'm with the majority of people who don't like him, I'm just trying to soak it all up as best I can.
Well, it has details of his failings. It's only an hour long, and to me, it does feel like it could have been much longer or multiple parts. There's as much Jen Sturger in it as there is anybody else, and I realize she's a pivotal character in the Favre Fales story, and this is just telling one part of the Brett Favre story. Andy, what would you say the first 10 or 15 minutes are about what a great quarterback he was and kind of his, from high school to Southern Miss to the Falcons doing nothing with him to being traded to Green Bay, and then a little bit about the Vikings and Jets would come later, but it's pretty short on his career.
Yeah, really short. I mean, they move through his Packers career. They get right to the Super Bowl, where they beat the Patriots, and they don't go to the next Super Bowl where the Packers also went to they went to 2 Super Bowls in a row. They kind of skipped the second one, but yeah, I mean it's light on. They don't have any of his Packer teammates, I believe, in it. Ron Wolf is in it, the former GM, which I was surprised to actually see him, but you didn't hear from former coaches or who was the one guy from Green Bay who kind of gave a little bit of backstory to the way he was treated there. I don't know.
There's a writer with the Gazette, and there was also a radio host who is.
It was a writer with the Gazette, the guy with the beard. Okay, all right, with the Press Gazette. Yeah, okay. But they didn't have. I don't know. I mean, these stories are difficult to tell because, you have a hard time, getting people to go on the record talking about somebody who's alive, somebody who's not been criminally charged, somebody who's not in jail. I mean, he's fighting all of these charges. It certainly looks like he's guilty of all of them, but he's fighting them, and they point that out like they should at the end. But, they didn't, I don't think they had anybody from the Vikings. They had Jen Sturger and then another guy that worked for the Jets was
essentially Jen Sturger's assistant. For those who don't remember her, she became famous at a Florida State football game when in a, what color would that be? A maroon bathing suit top, bikini top, and a cowboy hat. They kept showing her over and over again until the point where Brent Musburger finally said, 1 million red-blooded American men have just signed up to go to Florida State or something like that. And then she becomes a breakout star. And then later, she allegedly receives the dick pics from Brett Favre. Right?
Yeah, I guess you have to say the allegedly, but
Well, how do they? I mean, unless they identify, it did come.
They
from
identify
his
the
phone.
website. They certainly showed his email and that. But when it's funny, I kind of, as I was watching this, my thoughts about Jen Sturger's participation really kind of spun 180 degrees a couple of times. When she's first in it, I'm thinking, oh God, they're making it so much about her, and it looked like it was just going to be like Jen Sturger versus Brett Favre. That's what this whole piece was going to be. And then I'm watching and I'm like, okay, this is clearly somebody who has only gotten these jobs because she's attractive and has shown her body and been willing to walk around scantily clad in crowds.
And she owns that.
She does. But as I'm watching more of it, I'm listening to her, my mind is changing, and I'm getting more respect for her. They talk about how she didn't volunteer this stuff up. She didn't go to anybody to complain about this. I mean, somebody came to her.
And the Deadspin guy kind of betrays her confidence.
Yeah, he
and
looks like a
trust,
scuzzball.
and admits it, that he just couldn't resist putting this story out there. You're right. She didn't put it out there. And just for a little bit of background for those who don't know, this was after Favre had allegedly reached out to her multiple times to come to his place.
Yeah.
He kept trying to meet her. Surprisingly, they've never met, even to this day, according to her.
Yeah, he was just using these back channels, and he was back in the days of MySpace, and he was hitting her up there, and then having Jets employees go and
get her number,
kind of feel her out, and for lack of a better term, but saying, "Oh, would you be interested in meeting this guy?" And and she was like, "No." And then when she finds out it's Brett Favre, I thought it was kind of an interesting line where she's like, "Okay, this is the biggest star on this team, and I look an awful lot like his wife, who's battling breast cancer at the time, right? And like Deanna Favre, I look an awful lot like his wife. I don't want anything to do with this." And she didn't return anything. She didn't say anything back to him. So I thought she ended up looking pretty good in all this. She left the Jets,
they didn't renew her contract.
Because of that. Yeah, it sounded to me like that she kind of didn't want to be there anymore, or it was clearly it had gone sideways. But the Jets were not receptive to listening to anything that she had to say, or they didn't come to her to find out what was going on. I mean, they just swept it under the rug. And then she left and tried to do her own show, which flopped quickly. And then we really hadn't heard much from her since then. I mean, it really did seem like she was a rising star. As many of these other, the Aaron Andrews in the world, she kind of compares herself to that, have done. But we really kind of lost track of her. But, it doesn't just hang its hat on that one situation. It goes into all of his... all of the shenanigans with Southern Mississippi and the state of Mississippi, and welfare dollars to build this high-end volleyball center for his daughter. I mean, it goes into all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's kind of two elements to it, or two parts. One is the partying extramarital affairs to the point where the Gazette writer says when his wife was battling cancer, they wanted me to do a story on Brett Favre, the family man. And I told my editor, I don't write fiction.
Yeah.
So there's that side of it. And then there's the welfare funds that he allegedly had paid to himself and to Southern Miss for many millions of dollars. As you noted earlier, there are no criminal charges on any of this, and he's fighting all of it. So that has to be taken into account. In this era where so many of these documentaries don't show the person's flaws. Like there was a lot of criticism of the Swamp Kings, the story of the Florida Gators. Many people felt like they didn't get into the negative enough. The Aaron Hernandez, the criminal charges among many players, all of that. There were a lot of criticism, but to get the cooperation of the person in it, which Favre does not give in this documentary, sometimes you have to make those deals. Like the Last Dance was fantastic. We all enjoyed it, but it absolutely was a Michael Jordan approved 9-part or whatever it was documentary. So there's all of that. So this was really hard on Brett Favre. I would say even that I feel like it's disproportionately hard on him. And let me explain why I say that. I'm not saying that he comes off as a sympathetic character here, or that I like Brett Favre more after seeing this. I like him less. But NFL superstars who have extramarital affairs, or who have a playboy reputation, or who are really entitled, inappropriate, or text that women don't want. Unfortunately, that kind of stuff does happen. The welfare fund, certainly a bad look, all of that. But when you consider the amount of criminal activity that takes place in the NFL, or the amount of entitlement there is, because that's the biggest thing that comes out of this, other than the potential criminal charges, are, could Brett Favre possibly look any more entitled? He got used to being a god in Green Bay and treated like a god. So he knew no boundary. He knew no boundaries. He didn't know how to say, he stopped being human. Like he started to feel like he was an untouchable god and didn't learn lessons along the way. But it beats him up really good. And I don't think that it's going to change the mind of anybody who still loves Brett Favre.
Well, or at least they're going to be able to compartmentalize their distaste and still see him for what they cared about, what they cared about.
Being a great football player.
We do this all the time with athletes, and you're right. I mean, this is really just the greater point of this is, our worship culture of entitled athletes and all that we are willing to forgive or ignore or forget in order to satisfy our, really disproportionately, we're way too caught up in sports, and we know that. I mean, we do know that. Care too much about this kind of stuff. But, Brett Favre has more lumps than that. I mean, his retirement saga was ridiculous. I mean,
they play that out some, but not
a little
completely.
bit. Yeah. But it was ridiculous. And that pissed off a lot of Green Bay fans. It really did. I mean, it soured them.
When he joins the Vikings, they start burning jerseys. They do show that.
Yeah. And, I don't remember that, they were upset about that, but more than anything, it was just sort of, he was a baby in the way that he left Green Bay, where they got Aaron Rodgers. And, the rest of us would all swear up and down that if that happened to us, we would just try harder in Green Bay, right? I mean, we would recommit ourselves to making sure that we are, back on the top of our game, because clearly he could still play. He was just going downhill a little bit, but he was still, as he went and showed with the Vikings, he was fantastic. He was a great NFL quarterback. He had more left in the tank, but he got upset that they drafted Aaron Rodgers, even though clearly an outstanding quarterback had fallen all the way down to the bottom of the first round, and you're stupid if you don't take him at that point. And they proved they were right. But, he was a baby about that, and then he went to the Jets, and he was a baby about that, and then he went to the Vikings, and he was kind of a mess there as well, even though he was a really good, he had that really good season.
Right.
But the other thing that I think that they kind of skipped over is that, and probably this is because they don't have a lot of participation from other players, but Brett Favre, when he was at his peak with Green Bay, he was. I don't remember another player more widely respected by his team or even opponents than Brett Favre.
He played so hard.
He was so tough.
He was tough.
He was an old school player. He had a rocket arm. I mean, a huge arm, one of the biggest arms in the history of the NFL.
Madden loved him.
He tried so hard. I mean, he really did. I mean, he gave it up. I was kind of hoping when I saw that this was coming out that you would hear from like Warren Sapp. They had just a famous kind of rivalry between the two of them in that they would really try to stick it to each other in these games. And yet, you know, as soon as Sapp would put a big hit on Favre would pop right up and get in Sapp's face. And at the end of the game, you saw these guys embracing on the field and saying, hey, respect you as a competitor.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe you would see more of that. I mean, he was beloved by his teammates. I covered him for a couple of years in Green Bay. I was in the locker room with him in press conferences. I saw the way he was fine. He's
a charismatic guy.
He was. I mean, he was.
Yeah.
He didn't come across as, he wasn't churlish with the media. He wasn't. He didn't have some separate wing of the locker room or anything. He was a regular guy, and he was a pretty good guy to be around. But, we should be reminded every now and then with a documentary like this of the extent that our worship culture goes.
Boy, and it shows Green Bay to be so over the top, understandably.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. And, they were for players far lesser than, they were, Don Majkowski is in there. Don Majkowski was a very good quarterback for a few years there. The Packer fans loved Don Majkowski.
The Magic Man.
Yeah. And they kind of treat him in the documentary as he was some shitty quarterback that just, needed to step out of the way so Favre could get in there. But he got hurt and Favre stepped in. But I don't know. I mean, it is interesting to see. I remember watching the Reggie White documentary as well. I mean, you think the stories. We've lived it. I mean, we've been through all these episodes with Brett Favre, but until somebody kind of packages it all together, and then you got to, you've got a few years since you've seen him play, you sit back and you look over this and you're kind of a little embarrassed for yourself and thinking, why did I treat this guy's his feet of clay like anybody else? Why did I treat him like a god? Yeah.
Being great at football doesn't necessarily make you a great person. No. But sometimes you're both. Let's get to the quickie poll presented by WCI Pools and Spas in Ames and Urbandale.
You have to roll with one. Do you roll with Brett Favre or with Aaron Rodgers? Andrew's just he's just silent on this.
Why is
I had myself muted.
Oh, just for the whole conversation? Do you know we almost have this wrapped up, and then we'll
spewing expletives at the screen.
The whole time. What do you mean? He was terrible.
Yeah.
About him.
I'm roll with Favre here.
What do we mean by roll? Like,
you define however you want. Who are you picking? Who's your person?
Height of their career, you gotta get a win.
I don't know.
Like, have to hang out with for a week.
Well, that'd be a different thing.
Let people
Although that would be interesting too. I think on any level, you can entitlement, great first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback,
strange dude,
won't retire, eccentricities,
self-absorbed narcissist.
You got it all here. And how much is Green Bay to be held responsible in some of this for allowing people at a young age when they're still mentally forming to start to think they're untouchable?
Brett Favre is the bigger star in Wisconsin. He
still
is.
Easily.
I would think so. Yeah. I mean, he took them to the first Super Bowl since the Lombardi era and won it. He was just a whole lot more charismatic. And the team around him was far more memorable.
He also, even though he was from Mississippi, fit in with the Green Bay community better. Brett Favre at a tailgate is something that seems natural. The guy hunts, the guy fishes, all of that. Aaron Rodgers at a tailgate feels like the tailgate should be taking place at Cal Berkeley.
or just Aaron Rodgers is just like, yeah, it doesn't seem like he would even join the tailgate. He just seemed more antisocial, and Brett Favre was very social. But I would roll with Brett Favre here. I mean, Aaron Rodgers certainly way more accurate, way more, and that's so important now. But Brett Favre had a much bigger arm.
Yeah, Favre would keep trying to throw it into traffic, and Rodgers avoided interceptions, even if it meant not taking a chance. Interact on YouTube. You can email Murph_Andy at iowaeverywhere.com. That's the website. On X, it's Murph_Andy, and it is all powered by the Cellular Advantage with 35 regional locations. Proud partner with U.S. Cellular since 1993. Some more hot topics here on a Wednesday. The Dream upset the Fever last night, 91-90. Down one with 9 seconds to play. New head coach Stephanie White opts to have Caitlyn Clark inbound the ball, which seems like a bizarre choice, but Stephanie White does know how to coach. She does know basketball. Andy, I have to assume that the plan was to throw it in, get the ball back to Caitlyn Clark, but she just couldn't find anybody open. Maybe should have called a timeout at that point, but as the 5-second call is about to happen, she does throw it in to the middle where nothing good happens and she never gets the ball back. But I realize she's the best passer on the team, but having her inbound the ball was crazy to me.
That's what I was thinking last night. I mean, it seems totally counterintuitive. And, so I was trying to, as I often do, trying to put myself in the mind of the coaches there. She is the best passer on the team. It's an inbound pass, so I don't know if that's quite the same thing. But, I mean, if you were going to pick one player to make an inbound pass, you would pick her. You would pick her. You would. And then you would also have to admit that she's the best decoy. You confuse the defense when Caitlyn Clark's shot isn't the first one that you have to worry about covering on a given play. I was just trying to think, okay, why would you do this? Because again, my first reaction was the same as yours. You're just like, what's going on here?
What is
seem
this
like
plan?
Play to get her the ball back.
Clark had 27 points, 11 assists. That's noteworthy because she's tied for the most 20 or more points, 10 assists or more in the same games in WNBA history. She did it in 42 games. The person she's now tied with, Courtney Vandersloot, took her 395 games.
Oh, my God.
And Clark now has the most 25-point, 10 or more assist games in WNBA history. This is the second game of her second season. She already has the most.
I mean, we just remember back to where we were 2 games into her first season. I feel like we were all saying, oh, okay, this team sucks. And, this team had the first overall pick for a reason. This coach is questionable. Caitlyn needs to get up to WNBA speed. I mean, we were talking about all these things that were, really not good with that team and with, her situation. Now we're surprised. I feel like we're surprised when they lose these games. So we've come a long way.
Saturday's Sky Fever game was the most watched WNBA game, regular season or playoffs, in 25 years. More people watched than any Major League Baseball game this season, including the Yankees-Mets, which is quite a change. I was thinking back to our 15-plus years on the radio show. AD, maybe you can recall too. Did the WNBA ever come up prior to last year?
No.
I don't think so.
Maybe if there was one of our local players that we thought had a chance to be drafted, but then we almost never followed them into the league.
Because they often dropped. Yeah. They often didn't make it.
Yeah, they wouldn't make the team.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm glad you bring in the comparison to the Major League Baseball audiences. We kind of need those comparisons because every time I hear one of these, milestones, new records set by Caitlyn Clark, I mean, I'm a little confused over whether I should be impressed by Caitlyn Clark or unimpressed with the WNBA, right? You're just like, man, how low was the bar for all of these with the WNBA? Don't
low.
you think that too? I mean, Caitlyn Clark,
Yeah.
there's no doubt she's incredible. She truly is earning all of these things. But I mean, she's like not just clearing the bar. She like gets up and stands on the bar.
Some context would be, so this game peaked at just over 3 million people. The championship game between South Carolina and Iowa had 18 million people. So there's some context right there. Also, when you look at the numbers, there's no doubt that the Angel Reese and Sky adds to the interest in the game, but the common denominator across record WNBA ratings and record college ratings is Caitlyn Clark. Like the LSU Iowa game did a big number, but then Caitlyn Clark, or rather Angel Reese, is not in the championship game, not in the semifinal game against Connecticut, and both of those games have Iowa in it, and they both break the record previously set by the Iowa LSU game. So the common denominator is Clark. There is still no public verification or proof that any racist taunts toward Angel Reese and the Sky happened Saturday, but here's Caitlyn Clark on the WNBA's active investigation.
It's super loud in here, although I didn't hear anything. I think, that's why they're doing the investigation. That's why they're looking into it. That doesn't mean nothing happened. So you just trust the league's investigation, and I'm sure they'll do the right thing.
WNBA says it will not update until the investigation is complete, which is fine. Just got to update if nothing is found, which is
well, I hope that tells me that somebody asked and said, when
Christine
will you
Brennan
provide it?
asked.
Good.
She asked, when have you found anything yet? And the WNBA responded, not going to update. Well, the investigation is ongoing. We'll wait till the end, whether we find something or not. If you don't find anything, got to be fair to those Indiana Fever fans and say, we didn't find anything. Because so far we have nothing. We have no recorded video, no spectators saying they heard anything, no players saying they directly heard anything, nobody in security, nobody lying anywhere. Doesn't mean it didn't happen, but it's hard not to be reminded. Last year, we heard from the Chicago Sky about some incident with a reporter that was supposed to be so serious and degrading and insulting. And then we saw the video, and it was like one reporter going to ask them a perfectly professional question, and they didn't want to answer it, but they made it sound like it was something where they were put in some kind of public jeopardy by the aggressiveness of the reporter, which was not the case, and the video proved it.
Yeah, and this is kind of a fine line here. You don't want to discourage people from speaking up, when they do hear something, when something happens. But at the same time, you don't...
It can't come from social media. It's got to be somebody at the game, though, right?
Absolutely. And I think you have to say, you have to do what you can to discourage people from just crying wolf. Again, you have to be willing to listen at all times and willing to investigate. But you have to follow through on that investigation. And when you don't find something, you need to say you didn't find anything.
Yes.
Because otherwise this kind of stuff will get out of hand, and you will just, somebody has a bad game, or, for whatever reason, they're in a bad mood and they want to throw out a report like that. It does make a fan base look bad. It makes the state of just public relations within the league look bad. It makes, it throws the rest of us into a tizzy fit. We get into this big social media fight about racism rather than focusing our attention on the enjoyment of watching these competitions. And that's what we want to do. So, but again, it is kind of a fine line. You can't just be like, all right, from now on, we've come to find out there is no racism. I don't want to hear about it again. You can't say that. You can't feel that way.
If you find hate speech, drop the hammer. But you do have to be careful crying wolf, because it does take away from legitimate times that something needs to be done.
Right. And the people that make those reports need to feel like, okay, well, I need to make sure that I can back this up, that that this did happen. Somebody can corroborate with me. You know, I mean, you got to feel like you really are, you know, committed to rooting out the problem.
Thunder blow out the Timberwolves in game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. It was decisive enough as SGA leads the way to make you feel like, well, this is probably going the Thunder's way. But I've had that feeling a couple of times in these playoffs, and only to have the next game reverse. So we'll see. But it did look like there's a clear favorite here, as there is a clear favorite. The Pacers and Knicks tonight renew their rivalry. That's really cool. It's at Madison Square Garden, and former Cyclone Tyrese Halliburton is excited.
Excited to add more chapters to this, storied rivalry and just continue to be a part of it. And yeah, man, I look forward to playing in that building, and I look forward to the crowd environment. It's a good thing. Maybe it's a good thing that my dad won't be able to go. So yeah, I look forward to the environment for sure.
Stayed in the same voice, I think, right?
Yeah, he did. And I love that he referenced his dad not being able to be there, and he's doing it with a sense of humor, but I'm sure that's still really hard for him because his dad was at every game. And that's a reminder.
Yeah, but now it's to the point where, like, if you're superstitious, you don't want his dad coming back, right? If you're a Pacers fan?
Maybe. Yeah, they said indefinitely.
Anything.
I don't think they're changing it in these playoffs, so that'll take place
if
tonight.
If they let him back in and then they lose, what happens? Oh, man.
Let him back in. He gets in a fight with Spike Lee.
I don't care if he's sitting on his hands the whole time. If they lose, he's the reason why.
That's true. You like these geotag data reports here. So here's the map, Andy. This is rooting interest by state. And Iowa is Timberwolves. And we have the Iowa Wolves in Des Moines, and the Timberwolves are close. I would imagine there are a lot of people rooting for the Pacers right now, too. Cyclone fans, many of them are rooting for the Pacers. See anything on this map that's interesting to you? The Alaska's going Timberwolves, maybe just from the name.
Well, you have to. Sometimes you got to know the roster, right? I mean, so they've got a player that's from that state. I mean, I'm looking at Utah. Does Utah have a? Is there somebody from Utah that's on the Pacers team? Sometimes that's what convinces you. I mean, if Iowa was in here, I would think that was because if they were, pulling for the Pacers, I think it'd be because of Halliburton. But I mean, we certainly have the strong connection with the Timberwolves in the state of Minnesota. Surprises me.
The Timberwolves also have the most successful player in the history of Iowa basketball for accolades, but Luka Garza doesn't really come to mind in the way that Tyrese Halliburton does for the Pacers. We understand why.
What were you saying, Andrew?
The Knicks, I get why California, I mean, there's a lot of New York people, and the Knicks are a big brand. I don't understand Georgia for the Knicks. That there must be some connection there that I don't.
Yeah, I don't get that. I mean, I have some good friends who are New Yorkers living in Georgia. Maybe there are a lot of those. So, sometimes it's who you're rooting against. Like California, I think they could just be rooting against everybody else, right? I mean, they're just rooting against the rest of the West.
Ant-Man played at Georgia. Why wouldn't he be? Why wouldn't he have? Well, they don't care about basketball in Georgia. That's part of the problem.
Is Jalen Brunson somebody that's got a connection to Georgia?
Not through college, as we know, but I don't know.
I don't know.
Confluence, official beer of Murph and Andy. Confluence is where good things come together, and it is where our patio tour was this past Friday, and where the announcement was made that what's the Old Tavern? Old Tavern is coming out soon. They think it will rival Des Moines IPA as their top beer. Right now, let's get some more.
But wait, there's more from Either Or Eatery and Patio.
Either Or Eatery and Patio will be the site of our patio tour a week from Friday. Patio tour stop. We're coming up there, and I believe they're kind of kicking off their summer season then. So that's coming up soon. This Friday, we will be at Wellman's Rooftop in West Des Moines, as we all know.
It's West Des
did you?
Moines. That's-
Yeah.
S is silent.
Did you see Ed's rainfall numbers
It's
last
a record,
night?
right? There it is, record rain.
This was like I think over the 2-day period, we got to 5 inches of rain. It was nuts. We got to, this was at 4:04. It just kept raining after that. I guess we got so much rain so quickly. We don't normally get this much rain in the month of May. So I think the previous record was like 1.14 or something. And Andrew probably just had that on the screen, but we went way over that. It was like Caitlyn Clark over a previous WNBA record. We just got a ton of rain. It seems like we've pretty well soaked it up. I know the rivers are real high, but there's no puddles around me. Looking all around the streets, it seemed like we were really dry, and we just needed it and used it all up. Today in Greenfield, this is marks 1 year. Today marks 1 year since the Greenfield tornado.
Wow.
They'll do a remembrance at 3:25. They'll gather in the town square, which was not hit by the tornado, but it's still their town square. So they'll all gather there, and then at 3:40 today, they'll have a moment of silence, and then the bell there in the square will ring for 60 seconds, which signifies the amount of time that the tornado was there on the ground.
Just 60 seconds.
In Greenfield. 60 seconds, enough time to level over 150 homes and businesses.
That photo's incredible. I mean, it's just...
Put that up again, Andrew. You put that up one more time.
Look at that.
It was
and
so...
you can see where it stops, too. Like where it just, where it doesn't hit and where it hits, if you look to the horizon.
Came in from the southwest, moved toward the northeast, and just diagonally across. It was mostly south of highway. What is that? Highway 34 down there? Or is it 92? I think it's 92. No, I think it's 34. Anyway, it went across the highway just barely, took out the hospital as well, and then made its way out of town, but hit so many houses. I remember this day a year ago, the skies looked angry, and there were tornado warnings everywhere, watches all over. We didn't know which direction to drive. Kobe Gaines and we were going to go to Ankeny, then we were going to go over toward Newton, and then my friend Tim Foster texted me from Greenfield and said, we just got hit. Highway 92. It's Highway 92. All right. So we went straight to Greenfield, met Elias Johnson and Lee Rouse down there, and was just one of those situations where you get out of the car and you're like, I don't even know where to point the camera.
Right.
I don't know where to, I could pick any direction. Everybody was there just walking around with their hands up going, where do I start? Months later, we were back there and it looked kind of the same way, but they have not stopped working for a year straight.
They got
rebuilding that town.
Enough of a heads up that so many lives were saved too. I mean,
Yes.
people knew it was coming, not by much, but enough to take cover.
Yeah, there were a few casualties, but certainly would have been far more.
Right.
Let's go to the Murph and Andy classifieds for a moment.
Okay.
We haven't done this before, but there's somebody that's looking to hire.
There's an opening for a beef boner with at least 1 year of experience. Call 581-1318 to apply.
You know any beef boners out there? Might be looking for work.
Is that a poorly chosen name for somebody who debones the meat?
I would
There's
think
an
so.
opening for a beef boner with at least 1 year of experience. Call 581-1318 to apply.
How do you go ahead and just read that without further context?
Which is more challenging to you as a news anchor, reading the beef boner or reading about the monument to hairy balls?
I don't know that this was on a news show. It might have been on one of those little cable access things that just has, 3 viewers or something. But I mean, there's a. This is clearly somebody who breaks down a carcass, right? I don't know if they're an actual butcher, but I would think do they work in the slaughterhouse at just the tail end of it there, or what? Yeah, if you're a boner, do you call yourself a boner?
Beef boner,
a D-boner? Yeah, I don't know.
Delicate work. We got some good comments.
Rest in peace, George Wendt, a.k.a. Norm Peterson from Cheers, but you knew him from so many other things. The Da Bears skit on Saturday Night Live. He's there on the far right.
That might be second. Behind Norm, Da Bears might be his
for
second
sure.
most known
He was
thing.
in a lot, though. He was in Outside Providence, which is a Farrelly Brothers movie that you and I love. It's so underrated. He was in a lot of stuff, but we know him as Norm. He was in every single Cheers episode from 1982 into the 90s, right? Yeah, he was there forever. Everybody's favorite beer-loving barfly. My favorite Norm moment, and we'll just have to play the audio here, is from the final scene of the final show.
Sammy, I didn't want to say this in front of the others, but you know what I think the most important thing in life is? It's love. You want to know what I love? Beer, Norm? Yeah, have a quick one.
And then he walks up and sits down at the bar.
It stayed true to character. My favorite is probably the one that was just most cited, which was the dog eat dog world.
The dog eat dog world out there. And what is it? And I'm wearing milk bone underwear.
That's it. Yeah. The writers, though, just week after week, teeing him up with a great entrance, and he just delivered it on his walk to the bar time after time.
Yeah, dude from Iowa says, wonder if God yelled Norm when he showed up.
I didn't recognize George Wendt the last couple times. I mean, I put it together, but at first I didn't see George Wendt's face from Cheers in his older life face. If that makes sense.
Yeah, he was really famously heavy for a long time, and clearly that's hard on your body. And he didn't look good in his last few years here, and it was only in his 70s. Lost him too soon. Also, Sam points out he was in Fletch. Also, he was the guy sitting there on the beach. He was great. A listing. Do you guys ever look at Zillow Gone Wild?
No.
I look at that. It's this real. It's a spoof of Zillow, which is a realtor website. People that want to look at homes and home values, stuff like that. And Zillow Gone Wild is just a website that, or an Instagram feed that basically looks for the craziest properties currently listed on Zillow, and then they post those. And it's funny to see what the stuff that's out there. I mean, sometimes it's outrageous, sometimes it's just really, really cool. And sometimes it's in Iowa, as this listing is in, how do you pronounce this, Andrew? Tabor, Iowa? Tabor?
Yeah, Tabor.
Tabor, okay. This is a machine shed, just a metal outbuilding.
Looks pretty good.
Yeah, from the outside, it's totally plain, but the inside, man, it's tricked out. It looks really cool. Somebody worked really hard on that. This will be the best part of that house for sure, right? I mean, this is like not just a man cave.
Yeah.
I just live out there.
That looks awesome.
Don't care what the house looks like. Just kind of fun to see that pop up. The account has more than 2.1 million followers. Yeah, that's what it looks like from the outside right there. Would you ever think?
No.
Yeah, look at it. Oh, yeah. Oh, lots of taxidermy in there.
Sweet.
Thing is really sweet. Des Moines International has updated its logo. We'll check it out and see what we think. Can you tell this is an airport?
Yeah. I think that's fine.
It's good that they had the plane going up on
You don't want a plane on its way down.
No, that's something that the people that used to work at Drake or Iowa wouldn't have thought of, I think.
Yeah.
They might have had the thing going, the downward trajectory on the M.
Stephen Leith's logo should be like a...
Stephen Leith's logo would be like a plane on one of the ends of the S.
Just like a wing tilted.
Yeah, like it's a house fly. Yeah, I think that works. I bet they paid a lot of money for that. Commercial art is expensive. Gas prices for Memorial Day weekend are expected to be at their lowest for the holiday since 2023. So that's good. And let us never forget, guys, that this happened. This is real. Clark, the Cubby Bear, and his penis.
The Chicago Cubs, they introduced their new mascot, their first ever mascot, Clark the Bear. Described as a young, friendly cub who can't wait to interact with the kids. Also worth noting, he doesn't wear any pants. I think that is a gag photo. If we can switch to the next one, he also chooses to wear sneakers.
You can see how it would happen. There because this is a pantsless bear. There were so many photos out there, Photoshopped photos and joke photos, and somehow it made it to air.
Oh, don't show that picture to Lewis. It'll make him feel very self-conscious.
I know.
All right. Finally, the iconic bust that was part of the graveside of Doors legend Jim Morrison has been found.
Oh,
this
wow.
bust had been stolen in 1988, some 37 years ago. Authorities say the bust was found in Paris completely by chance during an investigation that was underway by the French police's financial and anti-corruption arm. That's all they'll really say about it. They're not saying they found it like in somebody's garage or something. There's not a lot of details about exactly where they found it at this point. So the cemetery where Morrison is buried has yet to be contacted by police, though I imagine word has gotten to them by now. And at this point, they weren't sure what the cemetery was going to plan to do. If they're going to put the bust back, they're going to, put it, secure it somehow, keep it from getting stolen again. I've been to Paris twice since 1988. I did not go to Jim Morrison's grave. Did you when you were there?
I did. Yep.
Was the bust there? Because
I don't remember the bust, but we took photos. I'll have to look at the photos.
Well, I say that because now this was stolen in 1988, so this bust wasn't there. But I feel like I've seen so many pictures of it since then, and the Doors movie was made since then, that I feel like
there was a new bust.
There must have been a replacement there. I mean, there are pictures of the bust with different colors on its face. Have they washed it off? I could not find the answer to that. It's one of the most famous graves in the world, and so frequently visited there in Paris. People decorate it, do all kinds of stuff. But that is your more, everybody.
Grimaldi's fan photos can be sent to Murph_Andy at IowaEverywhere.com. Grimaldi's coal-fired brick oven pizza, West Des Moines District at Prairie Trail in Ankeny. $50 gift card to the winner each Friday. AD, who's this?
This is our guy, Drew Shipley. He and his family took in the Royals Cardinals, I-70 series last week in Kansas City. And then our guy, Troy Hyde, got his merch store package, and he wanted to show us a photo of his haul while he was listening to the show.
Nice. That's a big logo there. Did he get the extra large logo? Look at that.
Yeah, he got it. I think it might be the camera working a little bit, but yeah.
Oh, nicely done. Thank you very much for both of those photos. Appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for Mr. Movie.
It's time to go to the movies with Mr. Movie, Mike Woody. Presented by P&P Small Engines.
There he is, Mr. Movie. Can't hear him.
He's fooling around with us.
Oh, gosh,
Yeah.
Mr. Movie. Oh, no.
Oh, man.
What are you superimposed on? You're losing your your hair. Like right now, you have a mohawk.
Dude, it's the Palms Theater.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I can see it now. It makes your hair look like it's kind of in the wind.
Yeah. Do they have a barber in the Palms?
Mohawk thing going.
Yeah, it's cutting off part of your hair.
You do. Hey, Mr. Movie, any idea if Jeff can help people trim or tidy up their yard?
Nice lead in there. Jeff at P&P Small Engine.
Yeah,
he's got everything you need. I mean, he's got stuff you don't need. I mean, like at one of the houses, I've got weeds everywhere. So he's got this big tank that fits on my back, and I can just walk around and spray weeds in the driveway.
The backpack sprayer. I've got one of those too. Oh,
pretty slick. So if you need something, I mean, it's a one-man shop, one-stop shop for your yard.
Our out of the box topic this week happened because my son Cade, who loves to watch classic movies, especially from the 70s, which he thinks is the greatest decade for movies. So his next movie that he wanted to watch is Dog Day Afternoon. And I didn't realize what I was saying about the motivation behind the bank robbery is a reveal in the movie. I haven't seen the movie in 40 years. I didn't realize that was a spoiler. So Eric came up with this poster, Dad Day Afternoon, because I spoiled this moment. Mike, how big do you remember in Dog Day Afternoon, the motivation, the reason Al Pacino is robbing the bank with his friend is revealed in the movie? Is that really like a big plot twist?
Not really, but I mean, yeah, if you've never seen the movie, when you get to that plot twist, it's kind of it's
and ahead of its time.
Way ahead of its time.
All right, so that was the motivation here for a movie that was spoiled for you before you went. And I'm going to start with one. I know I'm not alone on this, but I hated that it was so public that Han Solo was going to die in The Force Awakens. I mean, is there anybody that made it to opening weekend that didn't know he was going to die?
Probably not.
It got out there somehow in social media, and then I couldn't avoid it.
Yeah, and this is a good one here. Trying to take myself back to when I saw this, but I feel like I did go in knowing that was going to happen. I don't know that when you saw Han Solo in this movie, I honestly, I feel like Harrison Ford has rallied since this movie. Like his physical health has improved. Seeing him on 1923 and a bunch of other stuff, he seems more spry now than he did. Force Awakens, he seemed extremely, maybe it was because we hadn't seen him for a long time at that point, but he seemed really, really old. And like the moment I saw him, I was like, oh, well, yeah, he's
about to die.
Has to die in this movie.
Andy, what spoiler was spoiled?
Well, so this wasn't really spoiled for me by somebody else, but when I went to see Castaway, I had seen the trailer. And in the trailer, they showed that he survived, right? And then he got back to Kelly, and it showed him, Chuck Nolan, on the other side of being stranded on the island. And so as I was watching this movie, as much as I really do love this movie, I knew the whole time that he was going to make it.
Right.
So it took something. I wish that I had not seen the trailer. And this was back at a time where you would just go see a movie. You didn't have to know what it was about even, or have seen the trailer, or certainly hadn't read any reviews. You just, Tom Hanks has a new movie, I'm going to go see it. So I did. And the whole time I'm sitting in there, I'm like, okay, well, yeah, but he survives. And so I felt like that. I just felt like that was a mistake for them to put that into the trailer.
It does seem like they could have put out an effective trailer without giving away each major chapter in the story.
I think a lot of times if something important is going to happen, whether it's whether people know about it in advance or not, I think they want you want to be there to see what it's like.
Well, they did spoil
They
it.
probably wanted to show Helen Hunt in the trailer too, and like she's in it a little bit in the early part, but really the bulk of her movie is at the end. Because I had the same thing, Andy. I had the exact same thing happen to me, and so the whole time he's out on that raft, there's no real suspense because you know he's going to get found.
There's some really good trailer-worthy lines in the movie, late in the movie.
Good point.
And so I imagine that had an effect on it, but I just felt like you could have. I feel like at least the first round of people, the first audience, would have gone in not knowing, because I don't believe this was a book. This was, they could have gone in just completely blind, not having any idea whether or not he actually survived.
Mr. Movie, what was spoiled for you?
This background. AD, can you get rid of that? I feel like I'm like balding more than I'm already balding.
You look scalped.
Let's see if AD can kill that.
I think you have to kill it on your end.
I think it's your end.
Oh, I do?
Yeah.
Don't try to kill
touch
it.
anything.
No. Your audio is beautiful. It's
you've got a good
That's
Wi-Fi
gonna take
signal.
like hours for me to figure out.
No, we'll get you back in your office. You'll be in good shape. What was spoiled for you besides your hair?
I actually do have hair on that side of my head, but whatever.
Oh, we know you do.
There was a movie called The Crying Game.
Oh boy.
Oh man.
Yeah.
This was spoiled for you?
Well, yeah, nobody knew what was going to happen. I remember seeing it at the Varsity. It's about two soldiers. One's kidnapped by the IRA, and there's a relationship there, and then there's a big reveal that nobody in the theater when I was sitting there saw coming.
This was one of those movies that I saw once and then never wanted to see again.
Yeah.
I didn't care for this movie. Maybe I didn't understand it.
You were probably too young.
I think I might have been in high school. I do remember people saying, "You're not going to believe what happens in this movie."
I think the movie's popularity is mostly rooted in the shock value of the reveal that the woman is a man.
And it's revealed in the most deliberate way.
I guess it is now.
It is not subtle. It's like getting hit over the head with a sausage.
Yeah.
Or like a cocktail.
You are correct.
Yeah,
but this was a perfect
a little smoky.
This was the perfect Varsity movie. I mean, we're sitting there and it's like, oh my God, what is this?
Well, that was back when you could go to the Varsity too and get like $5 would get you a couple of snacks, a popcorn, a drink. They always had those crazy
and a couple
low
of
prices.
tickets.
Yeah, it was.
I might have seen this movie at the Varsity. I might have been in
guys
college.
might have been in the same movie.
Could have been.
I just remember people being like, "Oh, it's such a good movie."
I didn't.
was just
think
like,
it was
okay,
that good.
great. You can have it.
AD, what was spoiled for you?
Going back to one of my favorite stories, that's Harry Potter, and specifically the sixth movie, which is the Half-Blood Prince. Obviously, there were books before there were movies, and I hadn't really started reading the books yet when this movie came out, but I had stayed up on the movies and liked it. And a buddy of mine, like just to be a dick, was like, "Oh, that's the one. This is the one where Dumbledore dies," because he had read the book already, and the movie hadn't even come out. And so like the biggest kind of plot point at the end of this movie that really sets up like the finale, which ended up being two movies, was completely spoiled for me before I got to see the movie or read the book.
That happened with the Aviators movie that is the most critically acclaimed. Was it Endgame, or I'm not forgetting? There's a death. Or I'm sorry, I said Avengers. Yeah, there's a death, a significant death in the movie. Endgame, and that worked its way out. Thunderbolts and Sinners still going strong at the box office. Let's get to some reviews here from Mr. Movie. Juliet and Romeo.
Sue and I, we had an open night. It's like, let's go see something. And there's really not a lot in the theaters right now, although that's going to change this weekend. So we went to see it. It was a charming little film about Romeo and Juliet, but they kind of twist it around and there's music in it. It's really well made. And it was just, at the end of the night, it was like, that's not the best movie we've ever seen, but I'm kind of glad we did see it. It was fun.
So the grade for Juliet and Romeo?
It's a B.
A B.
It's a B.
On Netflix, I've seen Nona's. I thought it was charming. Vince Vaughn.
Okay, I started this last night. I only got about halfway through, so don't spoil it for me.
Okay. Vince Vaughn.
It is really charming.
Dialing down the Vince Vaughn persona a little bit in this movie, more of like just a son who's dealing with the death of his mom.
Just a nice guy,
yeah, nice guy. And he ends up, it's based on a true story, and he ends up opening an Italian restaurant on Staten Island where real, authentic Italian grandmothers do all the cooking, and known as Italian for grandma. So that's the premise, Mr. Movie. What did you think?
It was just a fun movie. I mean, you're looking at those actresses and, you don't even know who they are, but they look nothing like themselves for the most part in the movie. It was
for those who can see, Brenda Vaccaro.
It's a murderer's role, though I don't know the woman to the left.
That's Brenda Vaccaro.
Yeah.
And then Susan Sarandon, who just
knows.
is aging so well.
Right.
Yes.
From Goodfellas, Lorraine Bracco, and that's Talia Shire. That's Adrian from the Rocky series on the right.
That's the one that was the toughest for me. It's like, who is that?
I knew it immediately as soon as she walked in. I was like, "Oh, there's Talia Shire. That's awesome!" And a few of the people. There's a few actors from The Sopranos that you'll recognize.
Yeah.
In this.
Also, Talia Shire, she's so tiny. Even around these other women who are not large women, she's so small. It reminds you Stallone probably cast her in part because it makes him look bigger.
Yeah, although she was in The Godfather, so that's strong.
Yeah.
Godfather 2.
She's a good actress.
She is. It's a fun premise for a movie. It is good stuff. I'll finish it tonight, but I'm enjoying
and it's on Netflix. It's a solid B, if not a B plus. It was just
I agree.
I was happy we watched.
Yeah, it's a nice movie. It makes you feel good. And stick around for the end credits where you see the real restaurant and the real Nonas. So it's a great story. Goes on for a while. Welcome to tomorrow.
Oh boy. I went out to the Cinemark in Altoona. We had a Murph and Andy listener sent me a note, asked me if I was going to go see Welcome to Tomorrow. I said, I don't even know what it is. He kind of explained it to me. It's the only theater I could find it in. It was the one in Altoona, which I'd never been to. And I wasn't really happy with the 25 minutes of commercials and trailers that I had to sit through to get to this movie. But actually, they look great compared to the movie itself.
Oh, wow.
Now,
when you prefer the commercials, we have a problem.
And I don't know The Weeknd guy. He's a singer, I guess.
Yes.
Okay, you know who he is.
He performed at the Super Bowl halftime show. You probably saw him, but you probably went and got snacks.
Funny spelling.
Yeah.
The Weeknd.
Yeah.
The Weeknd.
But it's a very interesting movie about this guy, The Weeknd, who's a very popular singer, but he's strung out on drugs and he's all tense and freaking out. And he sees a woman at a concert and he runs into her later, surprising, and they spend a crazy night together, and then she goes psycho. And the movie is just, I just sat there.
She goes psycho.
Thank God I had a light on my watch so I could see how much time was left. It was, it's a good solid D, and I'm being generous on that one.
Good solid D.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know that a D can be solid.
Since I've been technical problems for the last couple of weeks, when I went to see the Thunderbolts movie.
Yeah.
I had a young man, I was walking to my seat, says hi. And on the way out, he says, "Can I ask you a favor?" Sure. Can I get a picture? My dad and I are big Murph and Andy fans. And you guys, I guess, weren't available for a photo that night. His name was Carter. He was just a really nice young man. I sat down and talked to him for a little bit. He's just, it was kind of fun to listen to somebody that listens every week to the show and loves it. So
Did you have all your hair, or were you in this this?
No, I had
crazy
shaved.
look?
I had shaved side of
this Travis Bickle look you have going here.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a busy weekend.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Hannah Waddington, you know who that is.
That's the Ted Lasso
She owns the
co-star.
team. Yeah. She's in both Mission Impossible and Lilo and Stitch. So two of the movies opening this weekend are kind of Hannah Waddington films. And then there's another movie called The Last Rodeo, which looks really good. It's about a rodeo champion who's retired, but he has to come out and do one more because his grandson needs an operation or something. It looks fun.
All right, so back to Mission Impossible for a moment, because this has good buzz, and it does look like the see it in the theater, see it at the Palm, see it in IMAX experience, all of those things.
Yes.
But my question, I've seen all the Mission Impossibles with Jenny. She saw the runtime on this, and it's going to be tough for me to get her into the theater at 2 hours and 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Woo.
Come on.
It'll go quickly.
An hour longer than it should be, at least.
It'll go quickly.
I don't know why I complain about that either, because what else is there in life that you complain that you're getting more for the same dollar?
Yeah.
You know, if you get an extra hour, shouldn't we welcome that?
Well, if it's good, yes.
If it's good.
We should welcome and embrace it. If it's not.
Well, you can't, there's no to-go container for a movie, right? You can't take the extra home.
Can I take the last hour with me?
Yeah.
I'll watch it
They
later.
should. It's a good idea.
All right, Mr. Movie, I know you got to get to your barber, so we'll let you go. It's great to hear you and see you and some of your hair.
Well, AD and I will be having a conversation about getting rid of that backdrop.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Movie.
All right, guys.
Mike
Good to see
Woody,
ya.
Mr. Movie, brought to you by P&P Small Engine, and it's time now for ThrowDowns.
ThrowDowns. It's ThrowDowns. Backed by Heartland Tire and Auto.
All right. We got to go quick.
Yeah, Heartland Tire and Auto treating you like family in Ankeny, Waukee, Knoxville, Boone, and Creston. Murph, even before last night's Game 1 win, the Thunder were heavy favorites to win the NBA championship. I'll give you the Thunder of the field. Which side are you on?
I'll take the Thunder.
I'll take the Thunder too. Yeah, I think people have been saying that since the beginning. They're looking right.
Yeah. All right, Andy, two guys brought this up earlier this week. Iowa's terrible finish to the regular season. College baseball is hard in the North. Iowa hasn't been nationally relevant in decades. And in the new landscape of college sports, you're required to put resources where they can really do their most good. Should Iowa drop baseball?
I don't know enough about the situation. It certainly looks bad for a major university to have no baseball. I am not the slightest bit interested in it, though. Just for some reason, college baseball has been a different animal in America. Always has been.
I don't think Iowa should even consider dropping baseball. I understand why someone would say that, but they had sold out crowds all weekend. They were competitive all weekend. Are they as good as the Oregons? No, but they got a good baseball program. It's going to be really hard to ever think about winning a World Series coming out of the Midwest. But guess what? That's not different than basketball or football, as proven by the last 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Murph, Overthinking had a story that nearly 50% of men think they could successfully land a commercial airplane in an emergency. Murph, could you land an airplane?
I'm guessing I couldn't. Just look at the control panels right there. I assume we have an expert trying to talk us through it, right?
Yeah,
like they do in the movies.
Down on the ground.
I would give it a shot. They would, have to tell me where things are and what to do. And if I'm able to do it, I know it would not be smooth, and there probably would be some clipped off wings and a crash of some kind. But I would do my best, and I'd like to think I could hang in there right till the end.
Okay, well, if I'm on that plane with you, I'm looking for a parachute. I'm out of there.
Same.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't blame you.
No way.
I'm going to give it a shot.
Like a single engine jet or like a prop plane where you're way lower. Is that what we're talking about here? Jet airliner? No way.
How about some confidence?
No, the jet airliner. I can drive most things. I can. Boats, RVs, great big commercial trucks, that kind of stuff. I've driven that stuff. I feel like I can do that. But I'm not going to pretend like I can take on a commercial jetliner.
No. Hey, that's throwdowns.
Now the Andrew Downs audio drop of the day. We call it the AD squared.
Yeah, Lewis could use some extra tea. I get mine at game day in Ankeny. You can go to West Des Moines, also North Liberty on the eastern side of the state if you're over there. Obviously the Caitlyn Clark Angel Reese thing is a rivalry. It's been talked about a lot. And Caitlyn was asked about rivals and how she feels about rivalries. And she went local.
Rivalry is great for sport. Like, I understand that. I grew up loving rivalries. Like, I grew up in Iowa State. That's like a pro matchup in the state of Iowa. Like, I understand that. Or whether it was my high school team, like, I still hate our rival high school, Valley High School. Sorry, I'm sure there's a lot of people from Valley High School that love me and support me now. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you guys, but I wasn't your biggest fan. I didn't like the Tigers growing up. So my parents, my grandfather was the football coach growing up, and Valley was our biggest rival. It was the biggest class in Iowa. And I was taught to, growing up, if we were driving by the high school, to hold my breath because I couldn't breathe that air. Like, I know, it's kind of funny, but, like, rivalry is always a big thing.
If you
in your face, Andy.
Yeah, exactly. We all hate Valley, too, so we're with you, Caitlyn.
Yeah. It's hard to hold your breath all the way past Valley. There's like 6 stoplights in a row. And
yeah, you got to go green.
Always goes off. Yeah,
got to go green or break the law. Quickie poll results presented by WCI Pools and Spas.
Yeah, you have to roll with one, and 58% say they'll take Brett Favre over Aaron Rodgers.
Thank you for being part of Murph and Andy, presented by Ramsey Subaru, right here on Iowa Everywhere. We're glad you're with us. A reminder. 2 Guys with Chris and Chris coming up tonight, live at 6. Not usually Wednesdays, not usually at 6 p.m., but that's coming up tonight. If you get a chance, please like and subscribe. We're back Friday. We're live at Wellman's Rooftop in West Des Moines. We hope you can come out there and join us. You will be able to hear the show on site.
Murph and Andy was brought to you by Ramsey Subaru on Hickman Road in Urbandale.